So I get to be, I think, the last one to speak this morning, and it's my honor to share some hopefully brief words of Torah and also a couple more thoughts and blessings for Ilona. There are a lot of reasons that I love this morning's Parsha, at least the part about the Sabbatical and Jubilee. Maybe not so much the lengthy, scary divine curses. Those of you who aren't regulars here at CAA and may not know me that well should know that I am a former farmer. And the amazing woman who is handling all of our AV needs this morning spends the rest of her time managing her own farm. She came here straight from the greenhouse this morning. And in fact, the passages in the Torah about land-based Jewish practice and history is what really brought me back to engaging with Jewish text. I loved being able to find nuggets of this ancient Jewish wisdom, even in modern farming practices, like letting fields go fallow rotationally in order to promote soil health. And of course, this is also appropriate for Ilona's bat mitzvah, because I'm pretty sure Mac and mine's first memory of her is at a kiddush where Mac brought rainbow carrots, and I'm pretty sure Ilona's mind was blown that carrots come in. So do we. Yeah, it was a great moment to see the wonder of a child when they realized that, you know, carrots come in more than just orange. And they tasted great. Thank you, Ilona. Yeah, so certainly talking about agriculture this morning feels appropriate. But you don't have to be a farmer to appreciate the lessons of the Shemitah year and the Jubilee. The verses we read this morning give us the imperatives that are at the core of our continued efforts of Tikkun Olam, fixing the world, and many modern social justice movements. Namely, that generational poverty should not exist, and that we have an obligation to assist those who need it and give the downtrodden in our society a chance at a fresh start. And on the most basic level, we all need rest. This Jewish value is communicated to us through our observance of Shabbat, but the idea that the land, something we may be inclined to think of as inanimate, also needs a rest, really hammers home the point of how important it is to properly rest and reset ourselves. Yet, if we stop to think about it, you might notice that there's a little bit of a dark side to these commands that ensure second chances and freedoms for the enslaved and the oppressed. Namely, why is the Torah making rules to make sure slaves and indentured servants can rise out of their oppression? Why didn't God use this opportunity and the commandments of the Torah to just ban these oppressive practices, including slavery? One possible answer is that the Torah was written as a product of its own time. And at that time, for a nation that had just been freed from their own slavery, slavery was still something present all around them and in all societies. And while the ancient Israelites were a very different people, at this point, they just weren't ready to be that different. The Torah clearly wants both ancient and modern Jews to aspire to create more just societies, but banning all forms of slavery then wasn't something the people of that time would have been able to live with. So the Torah takes steps in the right direction and establishes a society ensuring that oppressed people won't be oppressed forever, and that they'll have a way to raise up and to be made equal and whole. In the words of Maimonides, the great medieval scholar and philosopher, it is impossible to go suddenly from one extreme to the other. It is therefore, according to the nature of man, impossible for him suddenly to discontinue everything to which he has been accustomed. And according to Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, this set up a model for Jewish society and the world to start to think about not only taking better care of the oppressed people in our midst, but eventually erasing the terrible legacy of these abusive institutions. This is work we are still struggling to do, but hopefully find ourselves deeply committed to today. Ilona, I'm also thinking about you when I read those words from Maimonides, that we don't go from one extreme to another, Often, when we think about becoming a bat mitzvah, we think that you step down off this bima and you've almost magically turned from a kid into a full-fledged Jewish adult, like a Jewish butterfly. And certainly, ritually, that's true. But I think looking at you sitting with your family, the hardest parts of the day behind you, probably for the most part, you feel pretty similar to the way you did before you got up here and did such a great job this morning. The path to becoming a Jewish adult is a long and gradual one, not an instant and magical one. The hard work you've undertaken to prepare for becoming a bat mitzvah has been astounding to witness. The way you value the Jewish community around you, your Hebrew school friends, our longtime CAA members, the role your dad plays in our synagogue, you have recognized on your own how much more there is to this process of becoming a full-fledged member of the community than simply the rituals of your bat mitzvah day. And I'm glad it's not an instant and complete transformation, because frankly, I'm really excited to see you continue to grow into this role of Jewish adult. I speak for a lot of people here today when I say we've watched you grow up in this shul. And even as you got older and started sometimes coming in your soccer uniform, with so much else going on in your life, you were always smiling and glad to be here, seemingly as comfortable hanging out around the adults as you are with your friends. You've shown a remarkable amount of perseverance in your bat mitzvah process. I know the decision to have waited this extra year because of COVID was not an easy one. My blessing for you is that the skills and traits you've developed to feel confident to stand up here this morning and lead us in prayer and share words of Torah with us are ones that continue to strengthen, and that your family and friends here at CAA get to continue to witness this long process of growth and transformation into the adult you are becoming. I want to conclude this morning with the words of the priestly blessing, first in Hebrew and then in English. Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka, Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Ilona, may God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God lift up God's face upon you and grant you peace. Mazel tov.